Nice.
While playing Ryse, Son of Rome, there was one thought that was stuck in my head the entire time. This is the closest we're ever gonna get to feeling like Maximus Decimus Meridius from legendary Gladiator. Also, Gladiator 2. Ryse, Son of Rome is, in my opinion, a criminally underrated gem. And its biggest mistake? It wasn't treated like a new IP, but more like an Xbox tech demo with a marketing budget. Because underneath that, there's genuinely a great game. The story is deep and very well fleshed out. The combat and environments pull you in so well, it honestly feels like you've time traveled straight into the Roman Empire. So, grab your helmet, sword and shield, and let's see why this game actually deserves your time and money.
I fought with your father. If it's blood you want, I promise I will give you as much as you can handle.
The story is textbook classic revenge story with a plot twist midway in it. Let this not deter you. The story is good, trust me. If this game was a movie, it would be on the level of a guilty pleasure for me. The following section contains spoilers, so if you don't want anything ruined, I recommend you skipping ahead to this timestamp. The story goes like this. You play as Marius, a Roman legionnaire, whose family is brutally slaughtered in their own home in Rome by a supposed barbarian attack. Driven purely by revenge, he swears to hunt down everyone responsible. He is then sent off to Britannia to extinguish a rebellion led by the local Britons, or as the Romans call them, barbarians. Very quickly, Marius proves himself as both a skilled fighter and a capable leader, rising through the ranks, becoming a centurion. After capturing the Britons' leader King Oswald and his daughter Boudica, he begins to realize that the Roman Empire isn't exactly the noble civilization it claims to be. In fact, it's not much better than the so-called barbarians, especially when you take even a brief look at the Emperor Nero's sons, Commodus and Basilius. Very soon, Marius discovers that the Emperor himself was actually behind the murder of his family.
I didn't see that coming.
During a massive assault, the Britons managed to push the Roman forces back. Marius is left behind, holding the line alone, and ultimately, if we have to be completely honest here, he loses his life, so the fleet can escape. But that's not the end. A mystical force intervenes in the face of the spirit goddess of summer. Through the legend of the fallen hero Damocles, who was resurrected by the goddess Nemesis to enact vengeance, Marius is brought back and returns to Rome. He kills Basileus and infiltrates a gladiator tournament. Then, in front of a crowd and the emperor himself, he publicly executes Commodus.
Ouch, town population, you bro!
Meanwhile, Boudica gathers her forces, this time to burn Rome to the ground. Marius defeats her and sets his sight on the final target, Emperor Nero. In the end, he dies in the process, but not before he makes sure that Emperor Nero pays for his crimes. The end. The story is a chef's kiss level good. Once I finished the game and I got to the end, I felt as if I binge-watched whole TV series, and the kind that actually has a conclusion and not being prematurely cancelled. The characters are presented well and fit the supposed tone of the Roman Empire era. The main character of Marius is a good example of a likable protagonist. The supporting characters of Boudica, King Oswald, and basically the second father figure to Marius in the eyes of the legion's commander Vitalian are fully fleshed out as well. The ones I didn't like so much were the villains in this story, the Emperor and his sons. Especially the Emperor and his elder son Commodus, who I can only describe as one-dimensional comical level caricatures. Basilius gets a bit of a pass, as he's shown to have a bit of a conniving snake type of feel, although sadly, I believe he was killed a bit too fast and too soon in the story. Commodus, even from the first time we meet him, we can just tell this piece of shit had a god complex up the yin-yang, who has never heard the word no in his entire life. Every time I saw him, he reminded me of this old joke from comedian, just stuck with me for some reason anytime I see someone driving a Porsche.
Losing a hair, tiny cock, you need a Porsche.
Emperor Nero, I kind of expected a little more maybe, but all we got from him was this run piggy run type of cowardice. I know, I remember what I said back in Ghostwire Tokyo review, up here in the right corner, about story as a whole, and that a hero is only as good as the villain, but here I'll give it a pass, since the Roman times, I would assume people were a little bit more simplistic.
Respectfully, of course.
As one-dimensional as the villains here are, they in fact work pretty well here. And to be honest, that way, they were a lot more satisfying for me to end them. Story, 5 out of 5. Ryse, Son of Rome is described as a hack-and-slash RPG with combat mechanics and mimicking games such as Batman Arkham series and Mad Max. The main component of the gameplay is the combat. You have standard sword attack, shield bash, mainly used to break enemies' blocks, and deflect. Any attack that flashes in red makes it unblockable, so the safest thing you can do is just roll away. You can also throw spears in the form of a long-range attack, but will be used primarily to take out archers from unreachable places. Once an enemy has taken enough damage, a skull icon appears which will prompt triggering a cinematic execution. During executions, you will get color-coded prompts. Yellow for shield bash, blue for sword hit. You press the corresponding buttons to execute. You can't fail an execution. You just need to concentrate on clicking on the right buttons at the right time, which will correspond to higher XP earned, which in turn will help you upgrading Marius. Like extending his health bar and his focus meter. Once the meter fills up, you can activate focus mode. It will stun your enemies, slow down time, so you can start slicing and dicing, thus killing your enemies faster. You also got what I would call God Favors, which, upon an execution, it brings you bonuses depending which God Favor you have currently set as active. Another pretty awesome mechanic, although scripted. During the chapters, you get to command your own little slice of the Roman legion. When facing an overwhelming archer force, for example, you can command your men to huddle up in a tight formation using their shields like a turtle hiding in its shell to shield you and your men from the incoming fire, and command your men to throw spears in retaliation. At other certain key moments, you have something akin to a turret section, though because of the time setting it's called a Scorpio, a giant Roman crossbow to further help you face the constant overwhelming force. Both the turtle formation and the Scorpio are devised more as a variety tool to break a little bit the combat monotony. The game includes around 90 collectibles found throughout the levels in the form of chronicles for backstory, scrolls for character lore, and vistas, providing some visual concept art eye candy. The levels are very linear, so exploration, I'd say, is quite limited, but chances are most probably you'll still miss most of the collectibles on your first run anyway. This covers the campaign portion. Now, let's talk about the multiplayer section of the game. It's a co-op PvE arena mode set in the Colosseum. After all, what is a game based in ancient Rome and not to have the Colosseum included?
But of course.
There's no PvP here, thank God for that, but let's not forget the game is pretty old at this point, and given the game is a peer-to-peer based connection, finding other players, I'd say you have better odds at becoming the next YouTube celebrity.
It's funny because it's true.
The one saving grace the multiplayer has is that you can experience it completely alone, solo mode. Unlike other games I have reviewed so far, and just like The Darkness 2, the multiplayer portion of the game is still accessible. You choose the layout of the arena, you prep your gladiator, including which one of the 4 god favors you want to use, and off you go. Once you enter, every layout has its own set of objectives, like either you're gonna burn something, or you're gonna kill enough enemies, or gonna save NPCs, and so on. You either die or you survive and go for the next run. You earn gold, which is used to buy gear from booster packs, which are pretty much loot boxes no matter how you look at it. More on that later. The campaign can be covered in about, I'd say, 7 to 8 hours across 8 chapters in total. Depending on how curious you are about the multiplayer section, this can potentially add a couple more hours of gameplay. There is no real replayability value, as once you experience the campaign, there's really nothing else to discover. The solo mode and multiplayer can keep you busy for a while, and despite being fairly abundant, I'd say, in terms of layouts, and each of them having its own objectives, I fear it won't be long before you just become bored of it. Gameplay, a respectable 4 out of 5 stars.
By the gods, we fight for the glory of Rome. What kind of glory is this?
The Britons will never commit to peace if this is how we treat them.
Oh, silly me! I misremembered. There were actually many more murderous, feral warriors.
Ryse, Son of Rome does a lot of things right, but it also comes with its fair share of what I would call questionable decisions. Let me start with the positive things. For one, the game is beautiful. In some areas, it does show its age, but when it comes to detail and environment, there are moments where I just stop and take it all in. Not only that, but it also perfectly captures the feel of living in ancient Rome. From the streets and buildings to the aqueducts, all the way down to the grotesque look of the barbarians. The clothing design and the tribal tattoos really help bring the characters to life as well. At times I felt as if I am more like watching a Spartacus-like movie or series. The cinematic feel, however, can work sometimes against the game as well. Not everyone will see it this way, but in my personal opinion, it was balanced when it came to time spent playing versus time spent watching cutscenes. Another thing I found genuinely interesting is the Colosseum arena design. Whether in the campaign or in multiplayer, what first looks like just simple arenas and decor turns out to have more going on. It's actually presented more like a theater performance, if you like. A very snuff one, to be honest. Shaped as a story to the audience about Roman conquests, and you as the gladiator, you represent the Roman hero, or the Roman spirits in those tales of conquest. I have no idea whether this draws from actual history or not, but either way, that's awesome. The combat system as a whole is well designed, and every single cinematic execution is... And even if someone's going to argue that there are not that many animations of executions, personally I haven't counted them, but why do I need to do that? But not once have I gotten tired of seeing them, so that's a good thing. Now, it's time for the not so positive things.
Just stop ruining this like you ruin everything!
Ryse, Son of Rome was designed to be the flagship of the then just released new console, Xbox One, showing off a huge leap in graphical fidelity and modern gaming.
So, from around here?
Xbox One, day one countdown.
And this is where I personally believe they f***ed up. For one, they released a heavily restricted linear game at a time when open world games were all the rage.
I say, are you blind or just stupid?
What do you mean?
Perhaps you'd like to see what Lois and the Fat Man have been up to in your absence.
And two, you could tell from the offset that it wasn't really taken seriously as a new IP, but rather more like a glorified showcase from a graphical standpoint. A lot of expectations were placed on it, and I believe that linear structure played a role in how quickly the game faded away. Unfortunately, the issues don't stop here. As it was back then an Xbox One exclusive, later ported to the PlayStation and PC, I would like to say firstly, the PC ports, which you see here right now, has serious frame rate issues.
What the hell is even that?
I was able to sort of fix it by following this guide here. I'll leave the link in the description. It doesn't exactly cement the frame rate, if you will, but makes it a lot more acceptable. The other problem, the controls were also another point of contention for whoever picked up this game and decided to play it with anything other than a gamepad. As a main PC player, I believe that I will say, and I speak on behalf of a good majority of other PC players, I want to state the following. We never play with default keybinds.
You get it through your thick head.
Not only you can't change the controls in any possible way, you're given only 3 preset layouts, and that's it. You don't like them? Well, sucks to be you, doesn't it? And the fact that the combat system heavily mimics games like Mad Max or Sleeping Dogs, we the PC players who play with keyboard and mouse, we're used to attack with left mouse button, block or parry with the right mouse button. Simple, isn't it? The problem here for me was I'm used to blocking with the right mouse button, but instead I bash when I should have blocked. Not only I experienced almost constant clash between muscle memory and actual controls, but the inputs themselves are also little delayed. Not exactly a keyboard snapping in two gamer rage compilation style moment, but it was annoying to say the least. When it comes to the solo arena mode, I genuinely couldn't figure out how rewards are calculated. What does it determine it? Is it kills? Is it combo? Is it a combination of both? The game never makes it clear. And to top it all off, the only way to get armor and weapons for your Gladiator avatar is to use those booster packs, which, like I said, these are absolute fully loot boxes. I've never liked loot boxes. Doesn't matter if they're bought with real money or in in-game currency. Potato. They remain one of the worst trends ever created and implemented in gaming. Yes, it came at a time where the loot boxes mechanic was just picking up speed. Calling it a booster pack doesn't help at all either. It feels very out of place, almost like it belongs in a mobile game.
All of the games we have on the market that have a randomized content mechanic, a surprise mechanic, a loot box.
No wonder the game in fact died almost as fast as it came out. And I want to believe that this came from external pressure over Crytek. I'm looking at you, Microsoft. But regardless, it doesn't make things easier. Design, 3 out of 5.
Flog her until he talks, or she dies. Whichever comes first.
No! Hold her! How dare you!
How dare you?
Despite Ryse, Son of Rome's shortcomings, I still firmly believe this game deserves your attention. At the very least, the story is entertaining. If we overlook the slight problems with the controls, the combat system is fully capable of satisfying any Batman Arkham series or Mad Max fan. The setting and environment really takes you into this speculative ancient Roman times, and I can sort of see why they saw it as a graphical fidelity at the time spectacle. If you see it on sale, I would definitely recommend you get this game, and do that fast, because someone from high in the corporate ladder may decide to unlist it digitally forever. Final score for Ryse, Son of Rome, a respectable 4 out of 5 stars. Thank you all for watching. This is SaltyKal. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy my honest reviews. Have a good one. See you next time.
The Senate is nothing but frightened old men. They no longer listen to truth nor reason. I warned them about Britannia, but to no avail.